Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, episode 20, Downey Association of Realtors Lunch with a Top Producer, and our guest today again is Remoun Saeed. I know he's trying to be modest here, also known as Wemo the Realtor. Thank you all again for tuning in to today's Lunch with the Top Producer. We're episode 20. Can you believe it? 20 strong, guys. So we basically our biggest takeaway is we want you guys to walk away knowing that it doesn't take one particular quality or skill to be a top producer. We have today we have two special guests. Number one, I'm going to introduce you to our our top producer for episode 20.
My name is Remoun Saeed, and I'm with Keller Williams Pacific Estates La Mirada. Been in business for 12 years, 14 years, licensed somewhere around that time, and excited to be here.
Awesome, thank you for being here.
And I can't wait for lunch.
I'm Jose Perez. I'm actually your 2022 Vice President, incoming President-elect. I'm also broker owner of Nova Real Estate, and I always like to put my agents in front of great people that are going to be able to teach them. So I'm excited to ask you some questions, excited to get to know you a little bit better, excited to learn more about your business. So thank you for joining us, for giving us your time. I know you promised a meal, but I know you're going to get back so much more than that. Also, I took a little survey from a lot of my agents and other agents in the industry in regards to wanting to know a little bit better about what a top producer does. They asked, the first question is, what are some things that you delegate to be able to help you build more leverage for your business?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and that's a question that gets you start thinking like in a position to actually be able to grow. I think a lot of times we try to do everything ourselves, and the more we do ourselves, we always have a cap. So I've had an admin or administrative partner for 12 years, 10 years, even though when I couldn't afford an administrator. I just thought I learned this concept early, which is kind of the doctor nurse, right? Doctor nurse sets everything up, and the doctor goes in there and in a sense shakes hands, kisses babies, and then they're in there 2-3 minutes, and then they walk out, and then the nurse or an admin in this case
the rest take over.
Correct, yeah. And so even though I couldn't really afford it, or I didn't have the volume to afford it, I enjoy lifestyle more than I do keeping a little bit more money. So I've always had that mindset, and so I think that's an important piece, and it also gives you more accountability to yourself, right? When you're showing up and someone is there and they're getting paid this Friday and that paycheck is depending on you, you show up a lot different than if it's just by yourself, where you stay in bed a little bit longer, you have a drink for a little bit longer, whatever it might be, eat lunch on time, whatever it might be. An admin or some help or some accountability really helps there.
I like that what you said. You said lifestyle over money.
Yeah.
And that's where the delegation happens. You buy your time back. So the admin partner was the first investment you made in your business, huh?
First, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great answers, Wemo.
Yeah,
so it sounds like you've been in the business a good amount of time.
Yeah.
What was it? Was there an experience in your life? Was there an incident? What was it that motivated you, or it's going into real estate is a big decision.
Yeah.
You're basically running your business. You're going from a salaried position for some people to going completely, cold turkey, no income. So what was it that got you into the real estate industry?
So that's a really good question. Let's get heavy really, really early. So
we want to get to the core.
Yeah,
What's going on in that mind?
Value, baby. Value.
Yes.
During my college years, when I had graduated, I was in the IT, and I actually worked at the register recorder, where all the documents get recorded for the realtor.
Wow.
So I was in
How many of you knew that about Wemo?
Yeah. So I was in as an analyst for like 23 or so. So I had it set. So after again migrating here, I was 23 years old, making $50,000. I had a position that only my boss knew what I did, because it was so detailed. And then my uncle asked me, that's been in the business for many years. He has a mortgage company, still has a mortgage company, that he wants to start archiving and scanning a lot of these files. So, I said, yeah, I'll help. So we bought this big scanner, created some sort of indexing
Database.
for it. Yeah. And so as I started scanning these files, I'm like, wow, this person made this much. Oh, this person made that much. And I was really exposed to to what the possibility is.
Income potential.
Yeah, and again, working at the county, even though it was a good situation, I knew there was always going to be a ceiling because I looked at my boss and my boss's boss, and unless you're that one person that's the director or that really runs the whole organization, you're going to be capped. So that's why it started really on the financing side, and then I transitioned to the real estate side closer to like 2009, 2010.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it seems like the money was the first motivation when you're scanning the money and you're seeing, scanning the dog, you saw the money.
Yeah.
We know that that's the biggest motivation that drives people into real estate. But what has kept Remoun in the business?
Yeah.
What is your biggest why and the biggest purpose that you wanted to get out of this business?
Yeah. So believe it or not, it's actually not money because I feel like I have the capacity of making money in anything I do, right? With the county, again, being that discipline, that work ethic, I didn't think it was ever, even still to this day, it wasn't really necessarily about the money. I've walked away from so many deals. We charge still a full commission on our listings, so it's on our side it's 3%. Most of our listings are 5.5%. So, and if not, and they say no, it's too high, I just walk away from it. So, the money has never been necessarily the driver. I think it's winning, I think, is the biggest thing. I just want to win at whatever it is that necessarily we do. And I think that to me is more of a drive of money. Because the reality is if you are good and create value for people and you're good to people, money's gonna come. Money shows up. And so I've never been, really driven by money. Because there's other maybe opportunities that I passed up that would have probably been more fruitful. But, I'm good in where I'm at right now. And I have been really for all of my career. And I think that's an important attribute to agents, because if you have that, they refer to as commission breath, right? Mm-hmm. People just walk away and they know that you're not looking at for their best interest.
People can sense it.
Yeah. But if you pull that away and say, you know what, I'm here to serve you, and if it works out, the results are like, immeasurable. It's so much better.
Yeah. The referrals fall from the sky, right?
Yeah.
When you least expect it, you start getting those phone calls. Oh, my cousin referred me, etc.
And our business,
when you come from that side of wanting to help, wanting to give back, that all falls in line.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? What I'm saying is, you worry enough about other people's bills, your bills will be taken care of. Yeah. So I think that's good. So winning has been your biggest driver.
I had a conversation with Nahid from the Downey board as well, and she said something, because we chatted, and actually we spoke yesterday, the day before, and we share a similar philosophy. She said that what's for me is for me, and what's for someone else is for someone else. And it doesn't, like, I didn't get the listing because, the man upstairs knew that they probably needed it more than I did, and that type of like
philosophy, mindset,
allows you to just be like, maybe it wasn't for me.
So for me, or I think a lot of agents in the industry, building generational wealth is important. I think it's almost a duty for realtors, but just everybody runs their business differently. And I know I've known Remoun for quite some time, and we both actually probably met because we had that similar philosophy about helping families build generational wealth. What have you done in the past, and what are you doing now, like in your business plan or in your everyday business, to help families build generational wealth, be the first in their families to purchase homes? Because I know back then we were doing a lot of first-time homebuyer programs, seminars, and things like that.
So when I started in the business, I had this unique opportunity that the gentleman I worked with, he did strictly down payment assistance. His name was Matthew Callahan, and so that was kind of the exposure to it. And really, it comes from education and making sure that you educate people, and then ultimately, if they have enough education or knowledge, they feel good about their decision. And ultimately, that's how an experience, I think, in my opinion, is a good one, where people feel like they are, or they understand what's happening. One thing that when we speak in our homebuyer workshops that I think is really important is we talk about generational wealth and the transition from generational renting to generational owning. And I think that's a really important piece, because the decision that someone makes to buy a house doesn't impact just them right now. It impacts their offspring, because when we look at, buying a home, it was natural, right? My parents bought a home, and so when we grew up, we just knew the next natural thing was to buy a home. I think the same happens if you're renting. If you are in a home that you're consistently renting, that when you grow up, you're going to think renting is going to be normal.
That's just part of your mindset.
Yeah. I'm the example that my parents never purchased when we were younger, and so when I, in my
got
early
into
20s, renting was the thing. It wasn't owning property. So
Yeah.
parents play a key in instilling those
Yeah.
good habits in our kids, you know?
And I think if, you know, as we each at one point will have to break, in a sense, the movement from renting to owning. And I think for us, empowering people, knowing that it's not a decision just about having a house, right? There's more to owning real estate that you don't realize it until it's 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
And at the end of all that, you then say, you know what? I can't believe I bought, because now, you know, my house doubled or tripled, right?
Yeah, I'm sitting on 200,000 of equity.
Yeah. And you have to believe in the
Yeah.
product. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
A lot of agents go through the process not understanding the value of actually owning a home or owning, you know, multiple properties.
Yeah.
And until you become a homeowner yourself, it doesn't really, it's not real, right?
Yeah.
And I think the one thing I would recommend to all agents, especially in New York, see what's the fastest way to actually become a homeowner. Because you didn't realize what it looks like to unclog a toilet. You didn't look, you know, when you have to replace a service line or a water line or a water heater, there's just more like experience there that makes you a better agent.
Yeah.
One biggest thing I want to get more involved is in your business as well, and how you operate as a top producer, right? As a top producer, and I want to make sure that our members are also seeing how you're running your business. What are some of the 3 non-negotiables that Remoun has in his business?
But I think it's just, you know, treating them as really as family and like really wanting them to succeed. You know, just in general, always be honest to one another, and to just, whether it's good or bad news, I think that's maybe lost where people try to like dance around it. Like I'm a pretty direct person, and then, you know, and just be a good person. I think that's an important piece. One of the things that you know, as far as how we treat our clients, and same with our agents and our team, is I have this like saying or thing that I treat people like I would treat my grandma, right? And I think with our team, with our buyers, if you have that type of respect and for, you know, the person you're interacting with, then the relationship is always in a good place.
So, question I have for you, Wemo, is when you got into the business, what I guess marketing techniques, or what is it that helped you become a top producer back then? And then what is it that helps you maintain that top producer? Like, what are is it a lead generation? Is it the follow-up? Is there a particular program that you use, an app? Like, those are the things I think a lot of the realtors want to, or the audience wants to know.
So when I started, I would like to consider one of the first that started with videos, and I
yeah,
say
you were
that,
big on videos.
and
oh my
I say that because I remember the camera we were
Video
using,
content.
and it was, you know, it was a little USB camera. You push a button and the USB pops out, and you put the USB right into the camera. Like, that's the camera I use.
Yeah.
And I think that was an important piece, because
Videos.
video just created the
Video content.
the authority, in a sense, because someone sees something online, they're like, oh, I know that guy. And I think through those videos, you know, we have close to 150 client videos where we gave them keys and we actually did a video. So over time, we get to recycle those and so forth. So marketing to us was important. I've door knocked once in
So
my
videos
life.
and then circulating that on social media or on the internet.
Correct, yeah. I've never in my life door knocked. I door knocked one time because we were doing like a yard community type thing.
Mm-hmm.
What else? I cold call. I've never, like, I want people to call me. And again, with the whole doctor nurse, a doctor wouldn't call you and say, hey, do you want to come in for a checkup, right?
Yeah.
And so the goal is, what do you put out in the world, so that comes back to you. So for us, it was always creating some sort of video or some sort of like content where someone raises their hands and says, hey, so what is that content? You know, initially when I started, it was all buyer related. So it was a down payment assistance program, it's a home buyer workshop, it's a get educated. And at that point, people said, oh, I want to get educated about the process, I want to get educated and learn about these programs. They call, they get educated, we connect them, and that kind of continued. And so the videos continued, you know, social media, everyone's obviously on it and utilizing it as a tool. And there's a few people that are doing it now in our association that are killing it. Like Nahid and Chris, I think their stuff is stellar, and I think they're like
the videos a lot.
Yeah, they're by far
Shout out to
like
Nahid.
the top there. So now though, as we kind of transition in the career, and we still do the videos, and I think now it's just like, how do you engage people to a point where maybe they're not ready now, but you're top of mind? So, you know, I share a lot of the stuff that we do with, like, for example, ADUs or a lot of the projects that I have going on, or certain things like that. So when someone is ready, they say, hey, I remember that guy that, you know, shared this.
What was that guy's name again?
Yeah, you know, and hopefully
he was in Whittier,
hopefully there's enough there that they, you know, engage us. So,
which of the platforms now gets you the most amount of leads, you would say, from putting out that video content?
You know, Instagram's always been good to us. Initially it was Facebook. I think, you know, Facebook's slowed down. We still run consistent kind of ads, and really it's almost like I don't want to compare us to Gatorade and Nike, but you know, the people know the shoes people wear are Nikes, right? Yeah. But Nike still has commercials. Nike still pays athletes for endorsements. Same with Gatorade, right? However, it's the brand awareness. When someone thinks of, you know, real estate, especially Whittier real estate, I want them to think of, you know, our team, right? And really, for most people, you have two decisions per like water, for example. You might think Aquafina and Arrowhead. Someone might think Fiji. So you just want to capture a mind share of either be one or two positions. So when that time comes, you get the call.
I heard the most known beats the best.
That's true.
The most known beats the best. You'd be the best agent, but if you're not putting content out there, you're not putting
it's
yourself
like
out there.
in any industry, you could be the best physician, but don't make any money. It's at the end of the day, it's the best business person.
You have to be out there top of mind. So get the video
we
content.
know
IG.
We know Wemo does mailers because I've received them at my house.
IG's been one of my bread and butters too. I get most of my business and leads with Instagram and putting out content and videos. Just your regular stories, you know, just being you, being the genuine you that you are. Now, right now, we know we're going through a little bit of I wouldn't say, you know, I say we're correcting from the shift that happened during the pandemic, because the shift happened in the pandemic. What are 1 or 3 adjustments that you've done in the last 60 days for your business, and what are some adjustments that you're going to be doing going into 2023 because of this market?
So it's either businesses, you make more money, or you reduce your expenses. I think that's an important piece. So let's talk about expenses. I think one activity that everyone could do is print out their bank statements or credit card statements and get a highlighter and highlight 10% of the stuff that's on auto pay that you're going to call and eliminate, right? Do that month 1, and then print it out next month and do it again for another 10%, and keep going. And maybe it's 15%, maybe it's 20%. I think that's something that's really important, because the
money management, right?
The debt is going to get you out of the business, right? Because if you are at a point where you have to pay debt, then that bill in a sense comes every first of the month. So reducing debt, I think, is an important thing that everyone has to focus on. The next thing is, how do you get more business and more income? So whatever someone did, and this could be just you as you're watching, if you help 5 families, if you help serve 10 families, and you did X activities, right? Maybe you had, 10 conversations every day, and that got you to that number. With the market as it's continuing to shift, you, in my opinion, would have to do double the conversation to get the same result. So as people start planning and say, well, I do 10 conversations a day, right? And I got 10 transactions, or I help 10 families for the year. Well, I think you need to have 20 conversations to maintain that 10, versus saying, well, I want to help 20 families. Well, to help 20 families, you now have to have 40 conversations a day. That's the activity.
So quadruple it.
That's the activity that you need to be able to sustain that increase, right? So I would say get real with the conversations that you're gonna have. If you're planning on increasing your goal or keeping your exact same goal, you need to be mindful of the activity, which is the lead indicator, which is the conversations you have are gonna result in the buyers or sellers, are gonna result in the escrows, are gonna result in eventually, receiving a check.
Beautiful. How are you touching your database right now? What are some things that you are doing? I know you said the videos, but what are some things that you're implementing for your database to stay top of mind?
So that's a good question. And so, again, so a little bit of background on me. I went to, when I was mentioning the registered recorder, I started in IT, and then I switched over my degree. So I got a degree in business administration, and then I went back for an MBA in entrepreneurship, right? And so one of the things that stuck with me is client retention is substantially cheaper than client acquisition, right? Meaning keep the people you have is cheaper than getting new people, right? And you mentioned mailer. I don't know what mailer you might have got.
Well, maybe your team sent out a mailer, yeah.
I tried multiple times with mailers
and it's not
zero success for me. So because you throw a piece and you hope someone responds, where on social media you get instant notification, right, through their views or through their whatever. So we with that whole client retention portion, we've been doing different activities. Back in maybe 8-9 years ago, the first activity we did was a bottle of champagne and a pie that I would drop off, because at that point it was just me and our admin, the day of Christmas Eve, right? And so we did that for 2 years, and then it grew to where we had more clients, so we went Christmas Eve and Christmas Day that we were dropping off pies. And logistically it was a nightmare, because people were like, I went to go get a gift, I'm
out of town.
And we try to coordinate it where, what time are you going to be there, and then
so you get the photo op, right?
Yeah. And a lot of times the photo is just the pie in front of their step,
Yeah.
Anyway, so we started there. We realized that when it rolled into Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, that the family wasn't really happy that it wasn't there. So we went into an actual holiday party, right? And so we're planning our next holiday party now. We stopped during COVID. We turned everything into drive-through type experiences. Our last physical holiday party, and I expect us to be somewhere there, we had 200 people.
Nice.
It was plated dinner. It's like a wedding, We give away, we raffle off, TVs, and so we're pretty good about giving away stuff. And really, our philosophy is, if you have events around the kids, the parents will come.
Nice.
And it's incredible, because we have pictures of Santa and the kids
over the years. Nice.
Yeah.
How do you keep track of all these clients? What kind of
database?
Which one are you using that's helped you feel the best?
I'm pretty good with the face, and I'm in a relationship with a lot of our past clients. They follow us on Instagram, on Facebook.
Social media.
I'm engaging with them. It's crazy. Half of my story views are past clients, or maybe a quarter of them. It's really cool, because at that point they're just
they're in your life now.
They're friends. They're more than just like transactions where we help them and we'll never see them again. Our expectation is to help them multiple times, and when we don't, like, we did something wrong.
That's the beautiful thing about being a relational agent versus a transactional agent, right? You build those relationships for the long term, and those are the ones that are going to create that leverage, because now you have 300 people that are marketing for you, promoting you, and if you're just focused on the transaction, those people are not going to do repeat business with you, so you have to be constantly having to get new business. I like what we shared earlier too about the 10 conversations. I would share that the industry is changing where you actually have to put in the work. The market was carrying a lot of these people. They thought they were the quote unquote badasses, and now they're getting a reality check, So you got to quadruple your business. You got to stay top of mind by making sure that you're doing these particular events for your clients, for client retention. He shared client retention is cheaper than client acquisition. So I got those notes taken in here.
And someone might say, well, how do I start, right? I want to do an event, and I'm more of a high I, which is someone that likes to be around people. How do I start? Well, a couple agents in the office, or even myself, you start with something small. Maybe you pair up. I think initially 3 of the agents at the office did the Easter event together, right? And so now if you each have 10 clients and 15 clients or whatever it is, now it looks like it's 50. Your buyers, their buyers don't know, whose clients are whose. And so you can start small. You can have, if you own a home, you can have a barbecue at your house. We tried doing something, we always thought about doing something like that for like the clients that, there'll be a matrix of how many referrals and so forth they do. We'll have something in our house. I can't convince my wife of that, so we haven't done it yet. So locations are typically tend to be a little bit easier.
So Wimo, you're obviously very entrepreneurial. That's your background. That's what you studied. So if you weren't doing real estate, what would you see yourself doing? That's a tough one, but
I'll be a detective.
I would say, like, if money wasn't an option. I really enjoy like construction stuff. So I don't know, drive a bulldozer. Like I know that's really weird.
Or own a construction company, right? Doing something in construction.
But I don't see, like, the goal of myself is to eventually step out of production, which will hopefully be in the next year or two, where the team is self-sufficient, where it runs as a business. And I think the more you treat it as such, the faster it's going to become that way. I started doing some development and so forth. So I enjoy that. I thought this was a little bit earlier. I was waiting for a building inspector right now before coming here, and so I enjoy that stuff. I enjoy the process of taking something that doesn't look as and making it to where it's something, right? And so not so much flips or anything like that, but it's just more developing and ideally holding. So that's what I would do outside of bulldozer.
So development. That's beautiful. Well, we have some books here. You were telling me which one was your favorite book that you want to share with the audience here.
So by far, from the different books I've read, it's for me, it's Atomic Habit by James Clear. I think that book is just, it starts off pretty aggressive. I think that it starts with an accident that he has, right? You're nodding your head, right? Yeah. He was a baseball player, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. And it goes right into it, and the whole. I don't know, I'll give you a spoiler, but it's a great book. It's a must read for everyone. I've probably gone through it maybe 2 or 3 times, and it just gets you back to the small daily habits that multiply, over time, a week, a month, a year, and all of a sudden, you're just substantially better or smarter or whatever it might be.
What's a random fun fact that people need to know about Remoun? I'm gonna call you Remoun, not like she does.
Yeah.
I've been to 31 or 32 countries. So I've got an opportunity to really travel. And talking about books being perspective, same with traveling. When you see how other people's situation, you become grateful for your own.
Good job today, Remoun. You're awesome.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, my partner.
Thank you, everyone, again for tuning in. It's been an amazing, session with Remoun the Realtor. Again, thank you for joining us again for episode 20. And you know where to find Remoun. He'll be all over social media.
What's your social media handle?
Yeah. So funny story. You say Remoun the Realtor.
Yeah.
I got a notice because as this
is
a public announcement to all
tell
agents. So technically, you're not supposed to use the word realtor to identify yourself. So it's we've had everything as Remoun the Realtor.
Oh my gosh! Don't tell me.
I got a
from
call,
NAR.
I got a call from someone in Orange County, the board, and then I was notified by the board saying you can't use that. So we have to update everything to reflect it and be compliant. So there's a lot of agents.
So what are you, Remoun the real estate agent?
No, it's
Remoun Realtor said.
Yeah, real estate Remoun is where a lot of it is. So I see a lot of agents out there. Just know that at any point you could get a notice from NAR to stop using the word realtor.
With your name as like a...
Yeah, it's really technical, and we're in a gray area, and rather than going back and forth, I'd rather just be compliant now and
forever hold your peace.
And get it behind us, yeah.
Thank you to all our viewers, our members. We appreciate you guys. This is what our association likes to do, to bring back value to you. Have individuals like Remoun that are talking about building wealth, that are talking about what he does to be successful. Thank you for your time. I know that we took a lot of your time today, but we appreciate you spending it with us and contributing back to our realtor community here.
Bye, everyone.
Take notes, implement, take action.